sucks.
Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. AJ, Rudo, Jesse coming to you live as the Avs do in fact win over the San Jose Sharks today, 4-3. More importantly, they clinch
all that matters.
They clinch the playoff spot. Maybe.
Right.
All right, let me ask you this before I just slam it. What was more important? Clinching the playoff spot tonight or MacKinnon getting 100 tonight?
What'd you go playoff spot?
Yeah, I was going to say that's not at all how I thought that either or was going to go.
I agree with you that the playoffs are more important, but I think there are a fair amount of people that are more interested in MacKinnon getting 100. How about that?
No, I'd still disagree.
Okay.
Like I was saying downstairs, laughing at some of the replies I was getting, this is the point of the regular season. The Avs accomplished the goal of the regular season tonight. You play 82 games to get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did.
Well, technically they only played 76, but
Well, but I mean, like you play an 82
I know.
game
I'm
season.
just giving you shit.
You dick.
All right, 60-second rundown. Kick this thing off. Look, I really think the Avs played very well through the first 40 minutes of this game. The first period was A1. They put 2 on the board, 1 from Jack Johnson. That's a bit fortuitous, to say the least, but you take those and you don't say sorry. So you get that one. You end up getting another one off of fantastic play. They get it to the net front. Good hard work. Erod's in the right spot to put home a rebound. Just quality hockey. Second period, they do end up giving one up a little over halfway through, but loved the response from Colorado after the first goal against. They come back, they push hard. They do eventually get that goal back at the end of the second period because, I don't know, Nathan MacKinnon's just really good at hockey.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good play all around.
And then the third period was bad. The Avs struggled in the third period. They let the Sharks back into this game with a penalty that leads to a goal from Curtis McDermott, and then another goal a couple minutes later to get it to 3-3. Then we played maybe the worst overtime played in the NHL this season, and the Avs pull it out.
There was one that the Ducks were in a couple weeks ago. That was
boring. I don't know if it was worse.
No, it was one. We may be thinking of different ones because it was just 2-on-0s constantly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
terrible.
see
I watched
that one.
Yeah. I was just like, what is happening?
Sure. But definitely not a good
Second
overtime.
worst.
We'll put it
I'll
that
take
way.
that.
Sure.
It was exciting, if nothing else.
Exciting, I don't know is the right word
That
for
one,
it.
not
but
tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tonight's was stupid.
Sure. We'll go with that. Avs take it 4-3 in the overtime. Once again, Nathan MacKinnon's just better than your hockey team. He gets to 100 points. We've talked a lot about Mikko. I think we all know, given the past history with MacKinnon, that 100 means something to him.
Yeah, dude. So we talked about it on the pregame. Both of these guys, Mikko and Nate, have way downplayed the individual milestones, and it's kind of become a theme of this team over the last couple of years with some of these guys that have kind of sifted to the top of the NHL in their respective categories. Mm-hmm. They've really downplayed the individual accolades thing. Anyone that watched that game a couple of seasons ago when Nate had 99 and he was throwing any and everything to the net, trying to get anything to go to get 100 points, and he even acknowledged it after the game. Yeah, I was trying pretty hard to get that last one there. So he hits 99. He had 97 in the season that was stopped by COVID. He was barreling towards it. Like, he's a competitive guy. And, like, there are other elite players who have multiple 100-point seasons, and you know that was just eating him a little bit. The celebration in overtime, yes, you win the game, and you move into first. You could tell there was a little bit extra on that. And
Patrick Waugh would have been mad about that.
Right. It's the same for Mikko. As much as he's saying, there's a video on my Instagram right now from Mikko talking about how he's not looking towards the individual accolade stuff.
Dude didn't put 15 shot attempts on to not get 15.
But if you watch tonight, it's extremely clear. It means something to these guys. When you get to this point, like we talked about in the pregame, 40 goals, yeah, you're not thinking about 50, who gives a shit. You're at 49. 50 is a legit milestone in the NHL for decades now. 50 means something, and I think you could tell it was on both of these guys' minds.
Kind of followed Milan Hajduk.
Yeah.
Like, you always look back at Milan Hajduk and you're like, great career. Had a 50-goal season once.
Right.
What's the first thing you talk about with Jonathan Chichu?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Had a 50-goal season one time. Thanks, Joe Thornton. Like, it is a milestone. But you're talking about Mac and the 100. I remember the 99 because when they came back to Denver, I went and talked to him, and one of the other media people at the time tried to give him a hard time about it, and like just like a playful ribbing.
He was like, no.
Where he was like, oh, hey, why didn't you try a little harder to get to 100? You know, like, ha, ha, ha. Clearly kidding. And Mac didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he just looked at him. He looked at that person and he said, I didn't get it. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
So what? So what? I didn't get it. And it was like,
Oh, okay.
all right. So you haven't slept since. Okay. And I definitely like think about that when you do, because again, like 100-point season is one of those things. Like, say Nathan MacKinnon's pushing for a Hall of Fame career, and you know that's gonna be one of those things. Like, that's on the resume forever.
Well, I
100-point season.
I do want
No
to
taking it away from him.
dig a little bit deeper into that. Do we have our king of the game ready? Because it's obviously MacKinnon. The dude just hit 100 points. Like, come on.
Could have been Georgiev, honestly. He was fucking
If MacKinnon didn't hit 100 points, if MacKinnon didn't score the overtime winner, I think you're in that conversation.
I mean, it's a 3-point game.
You're right.
It's a 3-point. Like, for me, it was very, very easy. Given that Georgiev had one outstanding moment and MacKinnon had
multiple.
about
He's
9.
Nasty. Yeah.
I'd like Georgiev more. Yes, we can talk about him later.
Yeah. This 100 points specifically, Jesse, you were talking about this earlier. Nathan MacKinnon has 100 points and has missed significant time this season. Yeah. Of players in his amount of games played, no one's even like in the ballpark with this guy.
He's the only player in the NHL this season that is at or over a point per game at even strength.
Yep.
The when he was at 59 games played, just out of curiosity, he was at 59 and like 93 points or something, like 92 points, like somewhere in that range, right? And I went and I filtered 59 games played and less to see just, okay, of the guys who have played this number of games, who's the next highest score? And it was Pavel Buchnevich with like 63. And like, that's how dominant his season has been, where the guys that are all leading and scoring, you know, obviously McDavid is having one of the all-time great seasons that we will see in our lifetimes.
Buddy, we open every show by telling you our names.
Yeah.
It's fine. He's not doing anything bad. I'm just letting him know.
But with MacKinnon, like, the games played has like masked what an incredible season, and the fact that like Edmonton's gonna have 300-point guys, you know, like crazy stuff, right? But what MacKinnon has done has been really, really, really special.
Well, and especially because if you go back to like the first week of November, the narrative was, what's wrong with Nate? What's wrong with MacKinnon?
Yeah, well, and
he's off to a slow start.
His on-ice shooting percentage was 4.
Like, it was outrageously low.
Like it was extremely low, and we had that conversation of like, this won't continue. And then for the last 3 months, he has basically been at a goal per game pace. Not even messing with the assists, which he was already on his way to a career high of, but he's just gonna casually throw in like, how many goals do he have this year?
With tonight, is it 36? Yeah,
with the overtime.
Casually push a 40-goal season.
Yep.
Where he was on January 1st, he was sitting on like 9 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Turned it up.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but I know he is. Shit, I think it's like since January, like 14th or something like that. I think he's number 2 behind McDavid by like not that much.
There's McDavid, which is on an inhuman level of ridiculousness. Then there's MacKinnon, not that far behind, and then there's everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm happy for Nate because I do think I like the way that you put it a minute ago, AJ, of like in the same way that we've heard them talk about the Stanley Cup and the banner and how now you can never take that away. The 100-point season is kind of the same thing where it's like you are forever 100-point guy in the NHL.
We kind of referred to him as a de facto 100-point guy because he'd had 99 and 97.
Right.
But it was like he never actually hit it. So now you're looking 100-point guy, Nathan MacKinnon.
Checking Nathan MacKinnon's hockey reference in 20 years, we'll see 100 points.
Yep.
Especially because the 99-point season, like he was this close
Yeah. Well,
8 times. And then the COVID one, that is the one where it's like, we have joked for like, we're counting it because he had 11 games to go and...
What we remember he wouldn't have played because he got hurt.
The very last game.
You remember the last game that they played before COVID shutdown? JT Compher was their 1C and MacKinnon was hurt for a month. So he wouldn't have played those 11 games. He was going to miss. He was going to stop at 97 again because he got bad luck.
And that was why we were all like, honestly, 3 weeks off, it'll be good for the Avs.
Exactly. That's why we were like, hey, look, there are injury issues. And then he went out and had an absolute like biblical level performance in the bubble. Where he scored in every single game they played except Game 7 against Dallas.
That Dallas series, he was
wheeling that team.
Those first 2 rounds might be the best I've ever seen Nathan MacKinnon play.
Until this year, I agree with you.
Because he was just that was like true. Just give it to me and I'll do it by myself.
Yeah, if you guys ever want to go back and rewatch the first like 3 games where the Avs were not very good in that series.
Nathan MacKinnon just like,
it's just MacKinnon and Mikko just refusing
it's that one
to
little
die.
Like give and go one timer that Nate scores on from it's like the right side out high near it's like above the circle and he beats Hudobin high. I like still just think about that goal randomly because it was so fucking sick.
And that team's power play was like 40% in the bubble because he was just
and I actually what's a shame is I have no interest in going back and rewatching those games because those games against Dallas were torturous.
Yeah,
they were awful.
They should have definitely won game 2. The Corey Perry slashing at Franzos's hand flipped that game. But anyway,
and like I think there's a very legitimate case for Nathan MacKinnon to be number 2 for the Hart Trophy this year.
Can't have any argument about who number 1 is.
Yeah,
I just won't hear it.
McDavid is going to win it. He deserves it. It
should be unanimous.
Right.
There should be no other first
no
place
kidding.
votes.
Dude is doing something we haven't seen since like the 80s.
Yeah.
It's just outrageous.
I'm glad they picked it up because we were at like the halfway point and I was like actually getting mad on their fans' behalf. It's like right around the halfway, he was having this type of season and they were on the outside looking in. I was like, this is ridiculous. Trade him. Like, just trade him. This is horrible. So it's nice that they've picked it up
a little bit.
It would just be such a shame to watch.
You want to see the game's biggest star get an opportunity
be
in
on the
postseason
stage,
to be meaningful.
Right.
And they're going to get that. They've been really good down the stretch. They're going to get it. They just beat LA tonight in LA, I believe. So you're talking like you're going to get it.
Yep.
And that's what you want. You want to see the game's biggest stars get an opportunity to perform on the biggest stage, which is the Stanley Cup postseason. And that's what the Avs clinched tonight. So no more ifs, ands, or buts. All that meltdown about I just know they're gonna miss the playoffs because I can see into the future.
I was gonna say, I believe we did ask for all. Damn, I wish I could remember which show it was. All those people telling you guys are idiots. You guys are just making excuses.
Yeah,
you're just apologists. And we told them on that show, we said, cool, I want this same energy in April.
Yeah.
I want to hear it from all of you in April about this moment and how right you guys are. I haven't seen him in the chat in a couple weeks. Have you guys seen any of those folks? I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him around the people that think we're dumb.
I mean, I've seen Avery.
Yeah. She went to bed. Yeah, I saw that earlier, and I was like, oh, man, I'll bet you this was a roller coaster of a night for her.
Look, at least she's here owning it.
Oh, she always does.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that Avery lives on the day that she's in, not worried about the rest of it. And at some point, you just got to be like, all right, respect. It's how you're wired.
It was the one comment that was like, when are you guys going to stop making all these excuses and just accept the reality? This team isn't going back to the playoffs. There's 6 games to go, and they're at the top of the Central.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, haven't heard from that guy.
It happens out here. It goes that way. We got over 100 likes for 100 points. We appreciate y'all. These not even Dr. Dub shots. These are 100-point shots, playoff shots, whatever you want to call them. We appreciate you, Chad.
It is so. Again, we talked about it, I think, in the pregame, or maybe it was just three of us talking downstairs. It's so funny how you play these seasons. You get into the last week, 10 days, and you got 3 teams sitting at the top of the Central with 98 points.
Yeah.
It is always nuts how it works out like that.
I will never stop feeling like what a blown opportunity this was from Dallas.
They should have ran away with this division.
At one point, they had like a 13-point lead in the division. Now, there were games played considerations that led to that.
But even after, it was like 6 or 7 even after.
But they were walking away with the division comfortably, and for 3 months, they have choked it away.
Winnipeg's the one for me, dude. The fact that they have let Nashville and Calgary hang around.
When you wear out your world class, like elite level goaltender to the point where he's actively breaking down in front of you,
straight dog.
And it's like you go out and you sign a backup that you think you can trust in a veteran guy in David Riddick, and like, you know, we know that not great or whatever, right? But
big save, Dave.
Dude,
I doubt they work across country lines, but Connor Hellebuck might have a case with Bacchus and Schenker.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Call 222-2222 if you've been injured in pretty much any scenario, car accident, even if it's a ride share where you're not driving, if it's happened at work, if it's a motorcycle, whatever. If you've been injured and you think you deserve compensation, give them a call at the 2 number. Go to coloradolaw.net. Hit up Bacchus and Schenker. And if you have a case, they got you covered. They'll take your consultation for completely free. They'll let you know what's up. If they think you do have a case, they'll take it on for completely free. It literally costs you nothing until you win your case. You don't have to pay them anything, essentially, to get what you deserve. And they're great at what they do. Been doing it for 25 years here in Colorado. Won over $1 billion for their clients.
That's so much money, man.
People don't actually understand how much $1 billion is. Yeah. Like 9 zeros before a 1.
It really is one of those things where if you woke up tomorrow and you looked at your phone and you look at your bank app and you see that you had $1 billion in it,
wouldn't even understand.
You'd probably go back to sleep because you'd be like, well, I'm done worrying about everything for the rest of my life.
Dude, I wouldn't be able to sleep for a week if I just woke up and there was $1 billion in my account.
I would be freaking out.
I would straight up, I would be like, awesome, I'm going to go back to sleep. And then whenever I wake up, I will do whatever the hell I want.
That's not how it would
the
go.
Day I die.
It would 100% for me be like, oh God, what drug?
Your adrenaline would never be higher in your life than if you woke up to an unexpected $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there would be. I would be like, okay, I want some answers first.
Yeah.
Do I get to keep this?
If you won the lottery and like the first day that it showed up in your account, that's where I would see myself having that reaction. Where it's like, it's there. I'm going back to bed because I don't have to ever fucking show up to anything ever again.
I might go back to bed if it's just randomly in there because I'd be like, oh, this is clearly a banking error. Like,
I did have that bank error happen to me one time where I got the notification on my phone and it was like, your deposit of $110,000 has gone through. And I went, wait, what? And I opened it up and it showed it in my balance. And I was like, this is actually not nice. And so I called my bank and was like, sup? And they were like, yeah, this is a mistake. Don't spend that money. And I was like, I'm spending that money. Stop, eh?
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Beyond that, Bacchus and Schenker, coloradolaw.net, press 2 for a while.
They have had to figure that out.
They do have to deal with that stuff. Yeah. They actually know how much $1 billion is. Check them out. Press 2 for a while. Go get them while the getting's good. We're also brought to you by the folks over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Didn't hit the Mikko 50 lock, but if you went for the MacKinnon 100 lock, you'd have made good money tonight. So there were good bets out there. I believe Erod's over on shots hit as well. So we did okay today.
Let me see.
You could take, if we didn't hit that one, there's a tough night. But anyway, you can bet on all sorts of things beyond just the Avalanche over at DraftKings. Nice. All right. Not terrible. You bet on the Nuggets, who failed to clinch the first seed tonight, but you can still bet on them to do that. You could bet on the Rockies if you want to bet against them probably would be the better bet there. But you can bet on them too. That's an option.
Yeah.
You can bet on sports that literally got made up yesterday and I don't even know about probably when it comes to DraftKings Sportsbook. So jump on it. Get over there with DraftKings. Use the DNVR code when you sign up. With a new account in the DNVR code, you bet $5, you get $150 in free bets that you can it's free money to bet with. Even if you lose them, you lose nothing. And if you win them, you get free money. Seems pretty good. With DraftKings, you must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See the show notes down below for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700, and it's void in Ohio. All right.
I want to know if Timmy did you bet Jack Johnson first goal scorer? Because that had. Oh, shit. That had to have paid.
Yeah, that's got to be big money.
It's not as much as you would think, man.
It's still like 1,400 or something.
It is. You get like the wonderful odds.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're like Jack Johnson first goal.
It should be like 10,000. Yeah.
Seriously.
Okay. Let's actually talk about this game a little bit.
Erik Karlsson, I didn't realize. Horrific giveaway on that game-winning goal. Literally just threw it to Devon Taves.
Nice of him.
I didn't.
Trying to get that 100 points, man. He's really pushing.
Someone's got to get 100.
Bad giveaway.
Even if it's not him.
Bad giveaway.
So, Chad has already argued over which defenseman was the worst tonight with, obviously, everybody's favorite, Sam Girard, being the main ire here. I already have somebody in my DMs that has messaged me and said, I was right. His plus minus is deceiving. He's way worse than that.
Okay.
So I want to know how you guys feel. We don't have to necessarily be like, this guy was the best or this guy was the worst. But do you feel like anybody on that defense had a good night?
So I'll be honest, and I'm sorry, I don't really care. I think it was fine. I think they had some of those mistakes that we talked about in the pregame where it's just bad mistakes. It's some uncharacteristic kind of not giveaways by Devon Taves, but kind of mismanaging the play.
Yeah.
Sam Girard, we talked about it in the moment. With guys like Sam Girard, and this is the part that is annoying, I think, about this conversation. It's the same thing with Tyson Barrie. You have to understand who a player is. Everybody wants every player to be Cale Makar, good at everything. You're good at everything. You can do everything really well. There's just guys that, and I'm not.
Then you're making $9 million on a top pairing.
Right,
if you're that
right.
guy.
Or you're turn on nurse.
Zing. Sam Girard has obvious deficiencies in his game. He's an undersized guy, not even just for a defenseman. He's a small player by NHL standards.
Yeah. Is his official listing accurate, or are they straight up
What is
making
it?
up an inch? Last I saw it was 5'10".
I don't think he's 5'10".
I've always felt like it was probably more like 5'8".
Yeah, I don't think I'd say 5'10".
I'm taller than that guy, for sure.
I always say the dude is built like a brick shithouse. If you see him without his shirt, he is jacked. But like he's an undersized guy.
But he's 5'9".
But he's 5'.
And you can only be so jacked when you're 5'9", and also still maintain
agility.
your mobility.
He does a lot of things really well. As much as people don't want to give him credit for it, he does a lot of things well. He moves the puck up ice well. He's got good vision. He's obviously a great skater. And he generates more in the offensive zone than I think maybe we sometimes give him credit for. I think we've talked about this for years. I think he's got great gap control, and I think he has a very active stick, and he does a good job defending in those instances.
Probably why he has been, this year, the Avs' best defenseman on the penalty kill.
Right.
Yep. From a pure numbers perspective, he has been their best guy on the PK. And it's because the active stick, he's not having to defend one-on-one in front of the net, which is where he is at his worst. He's not having to win board battles. It's the stick. It's reading the play. He's a smart player. He reads it really well.
He's a smart player.
He gets in passing lanes. He does a lot of things well. But tonight on defense, like, again, you see him. He loses a battle in front of the net.
He's exposed, yeah.
I do want to wind it back into your original point here because I don't think anyone on the Avs defense had a good night.
I agree with this. This is where I was going with it.
And what I was going to say
You look
was
at every single one of them and you see at least one like
glaring
egregious mistake where
Yeah.
you're like, what are you doing?
right.
Yep.
And I just thought,
But as has been the case, Gerard is the one that ends up
takes
on the
flack
highlight.
for it.
right,
Yeah.
right, and it's unfortunate. He did get caught in the one area of the ice that I think
And
you
he-
can definitively
he
say
got pretty
he struggled.
handily beat there.
Right,
Like-
right, and it is
There's
what
no
it
getting
is.
around that.
Right, right.
He got beat. The guy makes a nice play,
Yeah.
but he gets beat.
He gets beat. And it is what it is. In my opinion, as much as you don't like that, you don't want to see it, if you're going to have players, I was going to say like Sam Girard, but really it's almost every player. You have to know who they are and who they aren't.
Yeah.
Sam Girard in front of the net, that's just not.
And like, there's a reason the way the Avs defense plays is often to sit in the passing lanes and cut off passes
Right.
before they
And
get to guys.
to deny zone entries
Right.
entirely
Before things happen.
The Avs are way more interested in stopping that play before it ever even gets close to him having to have Sam Girard defend one-on-one in front of the net.
Yep.
Right.
You play to your players' strengths for sure.
Yep.
In that regard.
And then where it will be frustrating is that, I mean, you look at Girard and you're like, oh, he's on the ice for all the goals against him. You know,
Yeah.
This is on. Are all three on him? No, Give me a break with this. Especially where JT Compher loses his man
just
completely
gets beat
alone
to
in
the
front
slot
of the net.
on a penalty kill. Like
There's one area of the penalty kill that you are, as a group, saying we are not giving this up. And it is
yep. You
a
just
foot
can't-
and a half in front of your
you just
goaltender in the
can't
middle
get
of the
beat
ice.
there. You just can't get beat there. Yep.
Someone mentioned Jack Johnson being a positive analytics player.
They all
Sure.
were, by the way.
The Avs dominated the shot.
I actually
attempts
thought
tonight,
Jack
yeah.
Johnson was like, he's the one guy I can't think of like a real bad mistake he made.
I could rewind some video in the second period and show you some.
Really?
Yep.
There are
When?
a couple
Which one?
of different shifts where
I mean, like,
he's getting a little bit torched coming
Well,
down.
sure,
the
but I
ice.
mean, I don't
has-
remember
he
like any
has-
egregious mistakes.
He has
for
he
him.
has one giveaway where the puck just drifts away from his stick and then he stops moving entirely.
I mean, I guess so.
And then just watches the play unfold around him where you're like, no response, huh? Just gonna
See, because like I said, he's the one guy. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember that one, but he's the one guy that I can think of where it wasn't like a.
But when you score,
What are you doing?
When you score a goal and your
Yeah,
expectations are really low to begin with, like you live a different life,
Right.
It's true.
Which is kind of amazing about a Curtis McDermott who expectations are on the floor and he still surprises you.
Because like Dermy had the bad penalty and then a really bad shift after that. Byram had. There was two giveaways that I can think of where it was like a what are you doing? Taves had a
was-
bad one.
Taves had Taves in
the
overtime.
horrible pinch on the first goal from Taves too.
Gerard had the couple net front things. Yeah, the two Johnsons are the only ones that I like can't think of anything where like off the top of my head.
The weird one for me is Byram because I feel like Byram was this close to having a horrible night.
Yeah.
But he had a couple of plays where he makes an insane recovery.
Yeah.
to,
A couple
like-
of emergency
Yeah.
breaking place and glass, diving for the puck.
Some Cam Ward highlights.
Yeah, exactly.
he gets a stick on a puck that should be a break the other way and gets away with it, and you're
Yep.
just like, okay, but
They're great
That's-
plays, but they were great plays because of the original mistake that you
he makes
made.
3 mistakes immediately
Yeah.
leading into it, where you're like, oh my god, dude. That's where it was frustrating for me tonight. Where in the pregame we're talking about where do you want to tighten the screws, and for me it was I want team defense.
and it was not good enough.
And the team
Yeah.
defense tonight felt totally fine for a period and a half. And then especially in the third period, it just felt like the Avs at times were this
Chasing.
is a team that could very easily be drafting Connor Bedard in 3 months.
Yep. And you're just letting them back in the game.
And they are just surviving in the third period.
Yep.
I'm trying to. I tried to get a couple guys to bite on the record, and I tried to get a few more guys to bite off the record about. Are you just ready for the fucking playoffs to start? Are you like done with this shit?
Yeah.
Nobody would. Everyone was like, "Oh no, we're not looking ahead."
Well, and I think that's probably truer this year than last year, just because they are still playing for things, because they do still have some stake. There's still something happening in these games.
I just think there's a mental hurdle that, or a mental switch maybe is the better way to put it. I just get the sense that this group went through that last year and they know what that adrenaline level is like.
Yeah.
And they're just like jonesing. There's like, give me
So-
Yeah.
that shit again.
I'm going to leave you guys here for a second because you know how I go sometimes. But I want to leave you guys with a question of...
You're not even going to hear the answer. Why leave us with a question?
Because the chat's going to hear the answer. You take a look at that second period response to the Sharks goal and how quality it was from Colorado.
Yeah.
What's different there than
Immediate
the
push.
response in the third period? Where, yes, they do give up that power play goal, and sure, it energizes the Sharks a little bit. Why don't we see that strong response from Colorado in the third period the same way we saw it earlier?
I thought the way that they came out in the third period was probably discouraging entirely. Because
catching a breeze over here, Jesus.
you have a 3-1 lead going into the third period, and then you draw a penalty a minute, 2 minutes in, and that's their worst power play of the game. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, their second power play is incredible. They have possession all 2 minutes. They're firing away. They're moving pucks. They're taking shots. They're putting pucks in situations where you could reasonably expect to score goals. And then that power play at the start of the third period, totally lifeless. There's nothing there. It's terrible. It's a terrible power play. And it leads right into they immediately take a penalty. They get scored on, and then their 3-1 lead turns into 3-3. And then they spend the rest of the third period just hanging out.
It was, I thought, what we talked about on the pregame of, like, just don't fall asleep. Don't take your foot off the gas. I felt like it was a 3-1 lead. They were kind of cruising. Like you said, they get 7-8 minutes into that third period. It's like, all right, 2-goal lead still, we're good. And it was just a foot off the gas moment. I don't know. I also do think we talk about it a lot. You have to give a little bit of credit to San Jose. That's
An
another
NHL team.
Another team that's out there trying to win. As much as these teams, you know, they're like trying to be bad, those are proud players. That was a nice push from them, given the circumstance and how easy it is would have been for them to fold up shop. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just ready for it to be playoffs. I really don't think any of the minutia of this shit matters anymore. I think it's seeding. You want these points. You want these games. You want to finish as high as you possibly can in the Central Division. But I really do. I'm way past. I'm like over analyzing all of these games. I want to get to playoffs. I think that it's just going to be a different level, different intensity. And I'm anxious to get there.
I think
April 17th.
I think there's some of both there. Like at the end of the day, the Avs won this game. Who cares how? They got the job done.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, I think it's worth doing some analysis of, hey.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah. I'm more of just saying, like, on the whole, and this is more of just like me speaking.
No,
of,
I get you.
Oh, these 2 seasons have been
It's
long.
been long. It's
man.
been long.
It's been long.
Well,
and
this year, especially the entire year, has been a grind.
Yep.
You know, we've talked about it. The number of man games that they've lost is the highest for a defending champion at this point ever. Since
in recorded history,
right? Since you can go back and record those things, which is about 22 or 23 years.
Yep.
So you are talking about, like, this is not the toll that Cup teams pay. Mm-hmm. This is they've
magnitudes
paid,
more.
They have paid triple the toll that Tampa Bay paid in 3 years.
Yep.
I had a guy tell me yesterday before they left, player. He goes, look, it's not like just the injuries. I'm not talking about the injuries, but he goes, this has been an up and down year.
Yeah.
It's been just a lot. And he said we were running through 6-on-5 work, just, you know, it's random clips from all season that they were kind of going through. And he goes, we were all kind of pausing and laughing because there was a game, 2 games. He said we're our 6-on-5 group. It's just funny, the personnel that's out there.
It's a bunch of AHLers.
All of those guys are Eagles now.
And he goes, you know, this isn't a knock on any of these guys. And, you know, he majors. They're all great players.
I mean, come on.
But they're not even on the roster
he goes,
right now.
But he goes, Hudon was on our 6-on-5 work. Foods was playing regular top 6 minutes for like multiple games.
Yeah.
You know, and he listed another guy. I don't remember who it was. But he just goes, this has been a grind of a year. The locker rooms look different. The lines have looked different. You know, we were kind of just chatting back and forth about that for a couple minutes. And I do just think that, funnily enough, earlier in being in the locker room, Cogliano said the phrase, "I'm done talking about injuries." But like, it's not necessarily just the injuries, but it's the toll that puts
on everybody
on the team
else, yeah.
Away from game days. Forget games and wins and losses. Just your practices are out of sorts. Your lines are out of sorts.
Got a
The
bunch
locker
of people
room
playing
looks
in
different
roles
every
they
day.
don't play in.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You got new faces. You got young kids. You got waiver guys. It's just been a weird, bizarre year, and I think they're ready for the playoffs because that's going to be a bit like the first bit of normalcy. Just go out and play.
Also, they navigate all of this 0 days with their captain.
Right.
It's
a big deal.
You
It's
talk
a big
about
deal. Yeah.
you talk about leadership. You talk about the captain, and like that's the guy. Like that is the nerve center that connects your coaching staff to your locker room, to everything that you do. Like it starts with Joe. It starts with McFarland. It's it goes from those guys, and then it filters down into to Bednar and the coaching staff, who then filters it into your captain, who then filters it into your locker room and leads the way for everything, and is your primary problem solver. It's the guy that takes the locker room and kind of owns it, and he hadn't been there.
Yeah.
All year long, he hadn't been there.
And a guy that we've heard a lot of players talk about how important his
He's an
leadership
incredible
is and stuff
captain.
like that.
I've played with some great ones or whatever. When Ian Cole was here, I remember asking him when I wrote a feature on Landy as captain and how he had grown. And he said, "Look, I obviously I got to play with Sid, and that was great." But he was like the Landy. He said that the way that Landy communicated with players was better than any captain he'd been with.
Jared said just last week, I think it was Megan who asked, and he actually said, Gabe's like another coach. He's got that kind of respect from the players. And when Naz was in town a couple weeks ago, someone asked him, I think it was DMAC, asked him, what's the difference, now being in this locker room and, you're on a title defense, like individually. And, having been through it, what's the difference? What sets a championship locker room aside? Do you think you've got it in Calgary? Shit like that. And he said, a great team has strong leadership from the coaches, and the coaches deliver the message, and that can be a great team. Championship teams, it comes from inside the locker room. And there were so many times during the playoffs last year where the Avs would, come back, they were down, whatever, and we'd ask Jared after the game, what did you guys say? And he'd go, I didn't say anything. And so when I asked him about what Naz said, he goes, he's spot on. That's what Gabe does for us. I know there's games. I don't even have to go in there because we know he's going to take care of it.
And
not just him, but like the leadership
76
core.
Games into this, and that guy hadn't been around for you at all.
It's
And
not
it's
just
not even like physically if he's in the locker room in between.
Right.
Him in a suit wandering around is going to do that. He can't be out there doing it.
Right.
He knows that he can't be that guy. There's only so much he can do in the suit. It's got to be on the ice. It's got to be Nate. It's got to be Mikko. It's got to be Kale. It's got to be those guys.
Well, it goes even beyond, right? Like Gabe Landeskog, only captain MacKinnon has ever known in the NHL. Only captain Cale Makar has ever known in the NHL.
Yeah.
Even guys like Sam Girardi, he played 9 games in Nashville. Essentially the only captain that dude has ever known in the NHL.
Yep.
He's such an integral piece, as you guys have put, organizationally, not just as a hockey player for this team. And they still have a very real chance to win the Central Division.
Yeah,
without
they
him.
win the Central Division with 0 games played from Gabe Landeskog. Y'all done messed this up. This is the year.
They
where
were
Colorado
vulnerable.
This is the year Colorado was vulnerable, and you guys have mucked around and screwed this up to this point.
The person who asked if we've talked to Gabe, no, we are not allowed to talk to injured players.
Yep.
They aren't in the lineup. Can't talk to them.
Unless you're allowed to. But not
Just
really.
not going to follow this up.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, that's all of this just to say, to build off your point of like it's been a long season. Like that's a huge thread of it, is that inconsistency has been navigated without the guy who is supposed to lead your team day in, day out. And it is unquantifiable, the impact.
Of course.
Of not having that guy around. Now, obviously, we can quantify the numbers of, hey, the goals. And like tonight, during the game, we were talking downstairs during the game, and I said the fact that the Avalanche power play is ranked in the top 5 with JT Compher substituted for Gabe Landeskog is one of the great coaching jobs that we will not get credit for, that Ray Bennett will get no credit for this year.
Yep.
That not having the net front presence of Gabe Landeskog for any of those games, and right now that is like that's like the third place power play in the league, or whatever it is, and it's wherever it's going to end up finishing. It will be a top flight power play with zero input from Gabe Landeskog.
Avs are clipping along at one of the best goal differentials in the West without a guy who's a guaranteed 20 goals and one of your best defensive forwards.
Yeah,
So-
and just a rock solid two-way guy.
What's so funny when you were talking about all this, I kind of thought about how I really don't know if we've talked about this a whole lot. In the offseason, there was so much conversation around, well, how do they replace what they lost with Nazem Kadri? How do they replace what they lost with Andre Burakovsky? Yeah. Who's going to step up? Who's going to fill those roles? And we've talked a lot about that even throughout the year. Oh, they've never really gotten that. You know, they've never made up for what they lost with Kadri. Oh, Evan Rodrigues. And we haven't mentioned or at least talked very much about, you also lost a 65 to 80 point guy pretty regularly over the last couple of years. I'm pulling up the exact numbers with no
his games played will keep that down, but
Right.
he's been a point per game player for 3 seasons.
Yep.
and like we haven't even mentioned the fact that that's just lost production.
Yeah, and the thing that kills you about that production versus the other two guys is that you spent $7 million on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You spent
get
$7 million
zero.
to get that production, and when you haven't had it, it's been a big problem. And that goes back to the deadline where they had that opportunity at the deadline to try to add somebody with a substantial salary.
But still, I mean,
blah, blah, blah. Like that was part of the frustration at the time, is that they had that money available to them. It didn't get used for whatever the reasons are. I really don't care to relitigate it. But
outside of those couple guys, though, that as we have laid out several times in those shows since, that really were never available, there really wasn't even anybody that matches the production level of a Gabe Landeskog out there. Like, this is just a huge hole in your lineup. To your point, a point per game guy several seasons in a row now that you just don't have. You haven't had all year, and you're still sitting where you're sitting.
Who's also one of your emotional tone setters. He's one of your most physical players, and he's one of your best two-way forwards.
Yeah.
Like, combine that with the fact that by the end of the season, Arturi Lehkonen will have missed about 20 games. Like, Arturi Lehkonen, Gabe Landeskog, and Val Nichushkin as 3 of your top 6
Combined
forwards.
is going to miss like 140 games.
And
or something.
yeah, but those guys, like, a huge part of your identity at forward is you are relying on those guys to play a really impactful two-way game.
Yeah.
And they have had to find ways without all of them this year.
To get through.
And it's been and they've had to find ways without Nate, and it's been Mikko. Like, Mikko's like lone guy up there in their top 6 that has that they're like true blue, no questions asked about top 6 guy that has had to navigate that.
Yeah.
And for them to be sitting at tonight's game, bringing us back around to tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight's game is disappointing. Tonight's game, you have a 3-1 lead going into the third period. You don't want to rely on a really chaotic and horrific overtime in which you need a miracle save on a 2-on-0 from Alexander Georgiev to get you the win. But they got it. They got the win. They got there. And you don't love that process. You don't love how you ended up in that room. But you got there. You clinched it. You're first place in the division going to sleep tonight, knowing that you have another game in San Jose in 2 days.
It's just... Yes, you can be disappointed with the process. Yes, the Avs will certainly look at the film of this game, especially the third period and this overtime, and say, hey, do better. But at the end of the day, on a night where you clinch a playoff spot, on a night where you set yourself up for the future of this year, I just don't care that much, man.
Yeah.
I just don't care that much that they had to do it the hard way because they did it.
Yeah, I mean, I do, but ultimately, you get to where you need to go.
Yep.
You know, the reality is that they're not going to be able to mess around like this in the postseason.
Of course, they're not going to get away with that.
But we've also talked about and said that if this is the lineup that they go into the postseason with, they won't repeat.
Yep.
They just won't.
Yeah.
They won't be deep enough. They won't be good enough. If you go into the postseason, you don't have Gabe Landeskog, Arturi Lehkonen, Josh Manson, and Cale Makar, you won't repeat.
I don't think there's any doubt.
But the regular season is about surviving all that stuff.
Yep.
It's about trying to get points no matter what is going on around you. Tonight, there were 2 points in play. They got 2. They gave 1 up. They don't care about that. They needed the regulation win to try and chase down a tiebreaker in case they need it. Number 1 tiebreaker being regulation wins, which they are tied with Minnesota and 2 behind Dallas. You care about that. They could be 1 back now, but they're not. So that just means they're going to have to do it on points.
Yep.
They've got a game in hand. Fine. You've got 3 more games this week in California. That's 6 points in play. You've got to get at least 4 of them.
Yeah.
Even if you get all of them in overtime. If you get 4 of those, you continue to put pressure on Dallas and Minnesota to keep winning.
The beautiful thing about sports is unless it's your last loss of the season, you have the opportunity to go out and win the next one and erase it.
Yep. And this isn't a loss. They win.
It's not even a loss.
They
in
win.
this case.
They
I was
clinch.
going to say, you guys are talking like they lost.
They clinch they clinch a playoff berth.
Yep.
They're now in no matter what. They can lose every single game the rest of this year, and it's fine. It's all good, baby.
On that note, we are brought to you guys by Volo Sports. If you don't know them, they're here in the bar all the time. They're adult sports leagues here in Colorado. You can save $10 when you sign up for a league using code DNVR10. If you want to vibe with the DNVR crew, a bunch of us are playing in the Cherry Creek Bowling League on Mondays, so you can join us for that. They have all sorts of spring sports to sign up for. You have April 13th, last day to get in, so make sure you get in quick. Kickball, soccer, volleyball, softball, cornhole, bocce, basketball, pickleball, bowling, mini golf, flag football, and more. It's a lot of sports.
Jesus.
They have tons of leagues to get into all over the city and the state. So make sure you go check them out. Volo Sports, again, they're awesome at what they do. Just come on down to the bar, and I'm sure there will be people here that can tell you all about them if you're interested and you want to sign up. Tons of fun. Use the DNVR10 code when you sign up. You save $10 when you sign up. And when you do pay for your league, it helps support kids sports because the Volo Kids Foundation is a separate organization that provides free sports camps to kids in each Volo city. So the money goes back into the community, which is always awesome. Beyond that, we are brought to you by the people over at Illegal Pete's. Maybe you just finished up your Volo match. Maybe you're pregame in the bar. You can go down there, get yourself a burrito. Happy hour from 3 to 6 p.m. It's all good. It's the good stuff. You can go get the fresh ingredients for their burrito. Everyone I know loves their margaritas, even though I'm not really a margarita guy, but everyone who goes there says you got to get them if that's your type of drink. So go check them out at Illegal Pete's. Get yourself a delicious burrito. And we will get into the third period of this podcast very quickly because we did glaze over it pretty fast. What the hell was that overtime?
It was chaotic, man. It was a lot of bad decisions.
For both
A lot of tired
teams.
legs.
Yeah, it was just ugly.
I mean, there was a sequence where it looked like each team gave the puck to the other team when they had an opportunity for an odd man rush, like 3 times in a row in the neutral zone.
It on the same play, it was like, here comes the odd man rush this way, that way, this, and none of them really got started.
Yeah, it was so janky and out of sync. None of them were connected. None of them were. Neither team looked like they were on the same page. It looked like all those trios were out there together for the first time. Byram in 3-on-3 is kind of a chaotic mess, isn't he?
He just looks, for such a confident player, he just looks like he does not know what to do in 3-on-3. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. But all that to say,
Mikko Rantanen playing 1v3 is it's unacceptable, man.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable for that guy to go in there. The first touch that they have of the puck, and he goes in by himself, tries to dance.
I thought it was an
and
interesting play because
gets it taken.
He like took that drop pass and he really hit the blue line with speed. So I understood because he didn't really have anywhere to go unless he was just going to stop. It was a weird play selection because like the only play they set up there was for him to go 1-on-3, and like I agree with what you're saying in principle, and it was like that just wasn't great management of a possession.
Would have been better off turning around and whipping it to his own end.
Puck possession is of the utmost importance in 3v3, and to just throw it away on, like, look, if he makes it work, we all lose our shit. He scores his 50th in the most epic way possible.
Right.
And we're calling him a god king, and he's king of the game, and we're releasing a shirt, and like, you know, like people are streaking through the streets celebrating how freaking amazing that was. But that's the 5% chance that it works or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a very low percent chance that he dances all three guys and then scores the goal. And when you don't do that,
it looks bad.
you give the puck away and it turns into an odd man rush the other way. Like, that is a big time problem.
I did want to get into overtime just to bring this all the way back around of, look, yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be disappointed with in Colorado in this game.
I just don't. And again, maybe I'm just at like a different point with this shit.
It's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is regardless of how you feel about this game, at the end of the day, the Avs just play the ace card and go, oh yeah, Nathan MacKinnon. He's just good.
Yep. Thank you, Erik Karlsson, for giving the puck to Devon Taves, who gives the puck to Nathan MacKinnon, who then does some superstar shit.
Yeah. And like, I can't even express the level at which things are going on there of MacKinnon baiting Kähkönen into the high glove, which is the book on MacKinnon of where he's going to shoot, getting him to bite on that and then ripping it blocker side and just making Kähkönen look like a fool. It's the level of hockey genius there just is mind blowing to me.
I mean, he'd been trying to go high glove on him all game. It was nice that he finally changed it up on him.
It's just...
And the way he sets it up, the way he cuts way into the middle of the ice, the way that he did, opens up that play for him, because that means that Kähkönen has to defend the entire net, and he's not having to go off of a post or an angle. The way that MacKinnon cuts into the middle of the ice right there, it's great. I mean, it's like, really, really, really smart.
I'm sure MacKinnon probably would even tell you, like, yeah, it was just instinct, right? I didn't think, I'm going to bait him high glove 100%. It's just he got in the moment and did what he had to do. But he's just, the fact that he can even make that play, let alone
and Kähkönen cheats
to him, for sure.
You see he's cheating because
I was going to say, Nate even like pulls up on the shot. He's like, oh, I have 30% of the net just to shoot at.
And then he shoots into it, and you're just like, Yahtzee, great. And just like that, you're in the playoffs, and he has 100 points. And now he doesn't have to talk about it anymore, other than, woohoo, I did it. Because nobody cares about 103 points. And now you're just trying to get that pressure to come off Mikko next.
Yep.
Because talk about a guy that looks like he's feeling it.
Oh, yeah. Do
you have bad credit, Jesse?
If I did, Self can help me build credit.
They're not sponsored.
Yeah, whoa.
They got to pay for that.
I'm just reading what it says on the screen.
Yeah, whoa. No free lunches around here.
Let's get some super chats to read here. $5 from Melanie, who says, it was a high anxiety game. Glad we won. Go Avalanche onward. Sometimes it's just that simple. $2 from Vaguely Sober, who hits the Georgiev please.
That save on the 2-on-0.
So,
dude, it's so good.
I don't think the Sharks played it very well, but yes, it's an unbelievable save.
It's a 2-on-0, man. All you got to do is just send a puck
you
across.
pass that back one more time, and it's a free goal. But
you pass it across once, you get the one-timer, and you go home.
Yep.
They do that, Georgiev makes the stop. Suck it. Your goalie, that's where your goalie makes the save that their goalie doesn't.
Yep.
Needed to be one save better, and you were.
True enough. $5 from Jim, who says, told myself I'd buy Super Chat if Mac shots on goal, Avs, over 3.5 goals, parlay hit. Here we are, playoff bound. Sadly, criminal Jeff Carter still at large.
Do you work for Altitude?
Big super chat 2929 from Ryan, who says Mac no longer the best player that never reached 100 points.
Yeah, now it might be Miko
Well, he'll reach it next week. It's fine.
for a few more days.
Lots of 29s for MacKinnon coming out. Thank you, Paper Dolls, who says he's got that dog in him. I guess. Always nice to see your favorite player find success.
It was a cool moment for him.
That rhymes also. Thank you very much. $7 from Dan, who says 100 for dog. Dr. Dubs, all that matters. Just get Moose 50 so the boys can focus on good habits for playoffs. Much love, gents. Keep up the great content. Thank you very much. And as always, the incredible Drew with $20, who says, I can't wait till Miko posts his 50th so they can then they can just get back to playing instead of trying to force things all game. Either way, a win is a win, and on to the next one.
I mean, that chance that he has in the beginning of the game when he hits the post,
The best
it's not going to
one
get
is the
better than
one of
that.
the bunch that he really should have had was the first one.
Well, and that's where you get mad about blowing the 3-1 lead, because there goes your empty net opportunity. You didn't have to beat a goalie then. Mm-hmm. Just has to beat the ref.
All right, look, they just really wanted to make McKinnon's 100-point meaningful, all right? They didn't want it to be some garbage.
Yep.
So that's the conspiracy theory. I'm good here. Anything you guys wanted to add?
No.
No.
Good win.
Good win.
There are
Leave
no
it at
such
that.
thing as bad wins.
That's absolutely true. You take them however you can get them.
Yeah.
We are off tomorrow, but go watch At the Rink instead. It did come out today.
Yep.
A bunch of stuff about Val Nichushkin in there. Very cool. Go check it out.
Yeah, it was a good conversation yesterday.
So
highly recommend. Go listen.
Go get it. We appreciate y'all. Oh God, it's 12:30.
I was gonna say let's wrap this up.
Goodbye.